Okay, moving on to Kansas State. Got another big challenge. I guess start every press conference the same way, don't I? Looking forward to another big challenge in the Big 12. You got to play your best each and every week, or you're not going to be successful. Going into this one, it's really nothing new. Kansas State, they're a team that fights their tail off in every phase with every player. If I kidded around with Tony earlier on this, but if I reference playing Iowa State, I apologize, because it's pretty much the same thing moving forward with what we need to do in order to be successful. Just a very disciplined team, great with turnover margin, great with penalties, play mistake-free football, give relentless effort the entire game. It doesn't matter if they're up or if they're down. Thank you. Doesn't matter if they're up or if they're down. Doesn't matter what their record is or who they're playing. Same type stuff I said last week in preparation for Iowa State is the same thing that we need to be aware of when it comes to Kansas State. And y'all have heard me talk about it for 6 straight years now. I mean, my respect for Bill Snyder and admiration for what he's built in Manhattan. Looking forward to going and seeing their new facility. Obviously not going to walk through it, but just the stadium just keeps getting built up. They got a great fan base that will be there loud, and it will be a great atmosphere. It always is. So we for sure got our work cut out for us this year. Offensively, they look like they've been like they have. I think Dana Dema does a good job with what they do. It's hard to coach against. They're tough. They're really good up front. Got a lot. They're big. They're physical. They got a lot of experience. That doesn't matter who their quarterback is. I think if Ertz is not playing, it's a shame, because just it's fifth-year senior quarterback. You hate that for anybody that is in that situation. They replaced him with Delton, who's extremely capable. Kept getting better and better and better. Replaced him with this freshman Thompson, who the 4 quarters that I studied more than anything, I mean, the kid kept getting better and better and better and better, and led his team back from being down at Texas Tech to score 28 points to win in overtime. So they're all 3 really good and really capable of running the offense that they want to be able to run. That includes running the quarterback. They get in a lot of wildcat, and they got 3 capable backs that can get back there. And, the main one, the Barnes kid, is continuing to get better and better. Another young guy that is great player development-wise. And then they'll do those pop passes and all that stuff, the RPOs. We'll keep our eye on how far down the old linemen are downfield. We'll keep our eye on that. But those receivers are pretty good now. Same guys that they had last year, Pringle and Heath and Zuber. Those guys are all really good, can make plays, score, get you real good. 83, the Showing kid's a kid that came into his own here this year. So got 4 capable receivers that are all really good as well. Very balanced, average almost 200 yards a game rushing and 200 yards a game passing. So going to be a big challenge for us for sure. Defensively, look like they've always have. They haven't changed a whole lot over the years. Giving up a few more points and a few more yards than they probably like. They lost some really good players last year. 2 or 3 of those guys were just really, really, really fantastic football players, and they got guys coming that have been getting better over the course of the 9 games going into their 10th game. Their front is big. They're built to stop the run, as we all know. They're a tough team just to go toe-to-toe with. If you get into whatever personnel groupings you get into, you're going to go toe-to-toe with those guys. They just keep adding people as you add people. And they're tough to move, and they're tough to run the ball against. Got 2 really good corners in Shelley and Reed. That challenge you, get up in your face. They're probably playing a little bit more man than they faced, or that they have in the past, because they feel good about their cover guys. So got our work cut out for us offensively. And then kicking game wise, we know what to expect. These guys have always been as good as anybody in the country with their special teams. They make a difference with their specialists. They've had the same kicker and punter for a long time. Those guys are as solid gets. It really affects their coverage units. I mean that by compliment. I've never seen cover units really benefit from specialists as far as where they place the ball, how they place the ball, hang time, that sort of thing. So, probably paying attention to it a little bit more than I have in the past. And they're really good. And you kind of figure out they're good not because it's a combination of things. Extremely well coached. Sean Snyder does an outstanding job. It's emphasized from the head coach. Their specialists do a great job, but then they got the other 10 people out there that are just playing with as much effort and great technique and as well. So it makes them really good. And then the return units are fantastic as well. Same two guys, number 2 and number 9, Reed and Pringle, get back there and they share the duties and they feed off of each other, and they're as good as I've seen. So got a big challenge. Our job this week is to continue to build on what we did last week which is practice hard, prepare hard, be tough, give effort. Should have a great week of practice. We'll travel out there Friday on Veterans Day, and then Saturday, have a good game in Manhattan. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. Anybody got questions, or am I done for the day?
Not yet.
That was a lot of information.
It was.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. I don't know what kind of questions you would have after all that information. I'm not talking about injuries, and neither is Coach Snyder, Mitch. So both you and Coach you guys can just hold that question. Everybody's day to day, and we can go out there and practice just like in Manhattan. Those guys are day to day, and they'll probably figure out who's practicing, and that may impact who plays. So, I've said for a long time I admire Coach Snyder and what he's done, and one of the things he's done more than anybody is be incredibly guarded with who's going to play. So I will practice these guys, and if they want to play, then they're going to practice, and if they do that, then they'll travel, and then maybe they'll help us win.
Dennis, speaking of practice, last week you and the players all talked about how you guys got more physical during practice. Obviously, there's a risk-reward with that because as beat up as you guys are, trying to put pads on and bang away in the middle of the week. Just go over the risk and reward of doing that.
If you got an answer, let me know, because it's a fine line between continuing to do that and, we've practiced the same way around here for a long time, and I think we got a pretty good formula on how we do that to get guys ready to go from a preparation point of view. We cranked it up a little bit last week. I think it needed to be done. I don't know if you can continue to do that. We know we're banged up, especially on the defensive side. So you got to gauge it a little bit. It's raining and it's 40 out there today. It's going to be raining and 50 in Manhattan on Saturday. So it doesn't impact anything. But you're right. It's week 10 and we're a little banged up, but so is everybody else. And that's probably the thing I was most proud of last week, especially with our defense, because that's kind of where the injury bug has kind of hit a little bit. We had guys step in and play well. You lose 4 starters and you have 4 guys step in that are younger guys, and they played well. They gave effort and they were physical and they knew what to do. So that's something to be proud of.
Another venue where you haven't seen a lot of success, what makes Manhattan, Kansas so tough a place to play in?
Another venue. Well, that's a little aggressive. I thought we've been a decent team on the road. There has been a couple of places that we haven't won yet in the Big 12. It's not like there's just been a whole bunch of them. The two games that we've played have come down to the fourth quarter. We've been competitive in both of them, and we just haven't won. I don't think that's out of the ordinary. I think Coach Snyder's won about 85% of his games at home. So you can probably shoot that question to a lot of other people as well. There's nothing intimidating about it based on the fact that if you find opposing crowds and opposing venues intimidated, you're in trouble, because all of them in the Big 12 are like that. Now, Kansas State has a great stadium, and they have great fans, and they're well coached, and it makes it harder at home, certainly, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to do our absolute best and expect to go win, because we do.
By that token, is it a little bit intimidating to stand across the sideline from the guy whose name is on the stadium?
Oh, I think you can go back and look at the notes from the last 6 years. I've been extremely complimentary of Bill Snyder. There's a lot of things. I grew up watching him when he was at Iowa. This goes way back, and back when I was at Texas Tech in 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, whatever, coached against them. He's a Hall of Fame football coach. It's an honor. I wouldn't call it intimidating, because, if it's intimidating, then nobody stands a chance to ever win in that situation, because he's so well respected in this profession, and it's so well documented on what he's done. I haven't even really heard like it's over talk like I have in the past, because I think everybody just understands he's going to go forever. He's like that quarterback in New England, right? It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. I don't know how he does it. I'm not doing it.
What are your thoughts on the fact that he is able to overcome the generational gap, both in a league where you got the youngest coach in him, and with kids? Certainly they're different than when he started coaching.
I don't know how he does it. I don't. I don't have any idea how he does it. It's hard enough for like me, and I know all these other young guys like Lincoln and Cliff and all those guys, Beatty. A lot of other young guys in this league, and it's hard enough for them because it's different. The millenniums and how these kids are raised and how they learn and how they communicate. It's different for me and them, let alone Coach Snyder and them. So I think probably at the end of the day, he gets up and he puts his head down. He knows football, and he goes in. He knows how to attack the opponent, and he gets that message across to his players, and he gets them ready to play, and they go out and they play their tail off. Looks to me like they're having fun doing it. It's unbelievable.
Having said that, is that one of the most difficult things, staying on top of the job as you get into it? All the different things that go on, besides being out on the field and coaching ball and doing the things you like to do?
Yeah, you lose sight of it a lot. There's so many other aspects of this job and this profession that you do kind of lose sight of it. But that's why we like game week so much. To be able to go in and just get into a routine of how we do things each and every week. I think that's probably important. And I would anticipate, knowing Coach Snyder like I know him, I would anticipate that's what he enjoys the most too, is just the preparation for getting ready for a game more than anything.
You brought this up a moment ago with the weather. We're practicing outdoors in rain and the weather way to stay. Does that tend to help you prepare playing in a game in Kansas with it should be raining and 50 degrees? It's kind of fortunate you had that kind of weather today to go out and practice in?
Yeah, I'd prefer sunny and 70. It's just really nothing we really talk about. If the weather is bad, there's a preparation aspect of it. We'll start indoor to do a lot of our teaching, and then we'll go out. We're not scared to go outside in any elements. If the elements are so bad that you can't get your teaching done, your preparation done, then it can affect that aspect of it. If you can balance it and get outside and practice what you're going to play in, that's probably an advantage as long as it doesn't disrupt the preparation. So you got to be able to balance that as well. Tomorrow is going to be sunny and 50, so we'll get really good work outside tomorrow too as well.
Danny, you said you remember him from Iowa. What's the first thing that struck you about Coach Snyder?
That stand-up tight end. Y'all remember that stand-up tight end? That was crazy. Yeah, just like that. Still don't understand that, obviously. I know I've asked him before so you can see things and make calls, but that's a tough get-off stance from there. Tough to get off, but I just have recognized it forever. And, their DC's the same way. Tom Hayes, I mean, he's been around for a long time, been doing the same stuff. And, I used to grow up going to those games. They just happened to be on that staff, with Hayden Fry and all those. That was a great tree. And Mike Stoops was playing then. I mean, when I was going to games in high school, Bob Stoops was playing. And now he's retired. And Coach Snyder's still going. It's pretty crazy. Who else was a part of that? Barry Alvarez was on that staff.
Jay Norvell played for him.
Jay Norvell did. Chuck Long. He was coach for a while. It's a pretty good tree.
Yeah, this came up in the conference call yesterday. We were talking about Lanning and playing some both ways and stuff like that. And I got to thinking, which is always dangerous, but you don't see two-way players anymore. You actually see players times being cut more than playing. I mean, you prefer to take them out of games and rest them and that. Yet they are far more conditioned, far more nutrition. Their sleep is monitored. They're bigger, stronger. Yet, I mean, you're not babying them. But why do you think that? Why do you think that is? And it's not only in this sport. I mean, baseball, same thing with pitches and stuff like that. They cut back on them. Is it strictly the money end of it in the end, or?
No, I don't think it's the money aspect of it. I think it's all performance and based. I mean, we're not playing our starters on special teams as much as we have in the past as well. I mean, we played 50. I think we're averaging 55 players a game this year, somewhere in there. So I mean, half those guys are playing special teams, and we're playing 18 guys on offense, 18 guys on defense, and then 30 guys on 20-some guys on special teams only. It's performance-based. I mean, there's a lot of snaps to go around. The up-tempo aspect of it has increased, the freshness of the bodies. It's why tempo became about, is to even the playing field a little bit. That's back when, we weren't as good as some of the teams we were playing. We'd go fast to even things out. When guys get tired, they're not nearly as good. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Well, you don't want a guy dog tired out there playing linebacker.
I mean, you could see it last week when you brought Kennedy McCoy into the game. That made a difference there.
Correct.
But
Fresh legs are important, but if you take a really good player and he's wore out, and now he's a very average player. If his backup is an above average player but not a great player, well, you'd really want to play that above average player over the guy that's wore out who's now average. I'd love to go back to 2000, 2001 and see how many snaps these guys were playing. Like our defensive starters or special teams wise. I bet you that number was a lot lower then than it is now. And I bet the overall number of how many people played in the game is lower too.